So, chapter 2 of Kagura Bachi has dropped, and I liked it. It was a solid chapter. We learned what happened to Chihiro 3 years ago that made him go on this quest for vengeance. It was kind of obvious, I guess, like half of it in my last video, but there was more to the story than him just wanting revenge. So, let's talk about the second chapter. It starts off where we left off, where Chihiro says to the boss he doesn't care if they are monsters, he must cut them down. Then Shiba comes to back up Chihiro. Chihiro and Shiba then ask the boss what he knows about the Hishaku. Chihiro says all they know about the Hishaku is the first time they emerged was 4 years ago, and rumor has it they are a small elite group of sorcerers, but they aren't 100% sure how true this is. And Shiba is continuing to back him up, but Shiba's support really isn't needed by Chihiro, because he's basically saying the same thing. But once Shiba walks away, the boss goes to tell Chihiro what he knows about the Hishaku. Shiba attends to the man being interrogated and says they should go outside for some fresh air. And once the boss starts talking about the Hishaku, his face and body start to morph and distort. Shiba tells the two to run, and then we see, I can't really tell, but I think there are tree branches that come out of his body and attack Shiro and the others. Shiro defends himself, then the man who is being interrogated says, "I'm gonna die." Shiba says, "No you won't," and then he teleports them outside. Shiba makes sure the man is okay, then goes and checks on Chihiro. Shiba then asks Chihiro if he's okay. Chihiro says he's fine, then asks if the man is okay, which Shiba says yes, he's just a little queasy. Chihiro says that's good, and thank you to Shiba. Then they start talking about what happened, and apparently the Hishaku put a spell in the boss's body as a defense in case he talked about them to anyone else. And from the scale of the attack, Chihiro can tell that they are a high-level sorcerer. Then they decide to go back to Tokyo, and we see Chihiro start to stumble because he used up so much energy. We see Shiba talk to himself and say 3 years ago this kid has 0 combat ability. Still, he hasn't unlocked the full potential of his enchanted blade, but it is impressive how far he has come. So now I wonder what more this blade can do, because we just saw him kill what seemed like at least 30 Yakuza with one cut. But hopping back into the story, we get a flashback of Shiba and we see his POV of what happened the day Shiro got his scar. So we start off with Shiba saying Rokuhiro's workshop and his house were protected from the outside by a magic barrier, and it was designed to alert Shiba to any interference. So when Shiba was alerted, he rushed over, but it was already too late. We see the workshop and house destroyed, and Chihiro holding his bloody father's body. Shiba rushed over to Chihiro and saw him holding a sword. Shiba asks, "Are you okay?" and what happened. Chihiro says there were 3 sorcerers. Then we don't get to hear what else Chihiro says about the sorcerers, but he goes on and says, "I blacked out, and when I came to, they were gone." We see that he is talking about these 6 enchanted blades his father made for the war and had hid them in the cellar in his workshop. Then Shiba had said, "At least you are fine." Well, not exactly fine. That wound. "Are you okay?" Then Chihiro answers and says, "I'm fine, it's nothing." Then Chihiro remembers when his dad showed him these swords, and Kunishike said, "These are enchanted blades, they each have their own power." Chihiro says, "These are the kind of katanas I should make." Kunishike says, "Maybe, but listen, these aren't necessarily the right answer. You can't just strive to make strong enchanted blades. You have to see the world with your own eyes and make the swords you think the world needs." He then says he thinks about that every day, but slowly but surely we will learn to do that together. Then Chihiro says yeah, then he makes fun of his dad's shirts. Then in the next panel we see a close-up of his dead father. So it was kind of obvious that his dad was the one who died, because in the second half of the first chapter he wasn't in it, and there wasn't anyone else who was introduced in the first chapter that Chihiro really cared about, you know? So it only made sense that his dad was the one who died. Chihiro asks, who are they? Do they know how much dad cared about the katana? Why? Why all this? Then Shiba says, "I'm sorry, if only I got in here sooner." Then he asks himself, how do they find this place? Then Chihiro says they have to know what dad believed. "I'll show them. I'll cut them all down." Then we cut and see that the katana that Chihiro wields now is the one Rokuhiro spent years completing after the war and gave his life to protect, the 7th one. Now, from this backstory, we see one of the sorcerers who killed Chihiro's dad is the same sorcerer we seen in the first chapter with the boss. We learned not only is his father the one who was killed, and now he wants revenge for his death, but he also has to retrieve the last 6 enchanted blades his father made. Now, I wonder what kind of powers the rest of these blades have, and are we going to see Chihiro use them? Seeing him use like 2 swords with some crazy sorcery would be so fire to see. But joining back into the story, we see Chihiro thinking. He says there's been no reliable information since that day about the Hishaku or enchanted blades. At this very moment, someone could be using the blades for evil, and then he says I have to find the Hishaku and enchanted blades as soon as possible. We cut and see him in a hotel room, and Shiba walks in and says we got to Tokyo just in time. We finally got a lead on an enchanted blade. Now that is where the second chapter ends, and the story is starting to pick up some more, and I'm interested in seeing the new sorcery and characters that will be introduced in the story. I definitely can't wait until Chihiro meets the sorcerer we saw in the first chapter, because we know he was there when Kunishige died, and we know Chihiro hasn't forgotten his face, so I know when he catches him, Chihiro's going to do him the worst way possible, and that's going to be so fire to see. Now I wonder why the sorcerers who killed his father didn't also take the last blade that Chihiro now has. I have two guesses on why I think this could have happened. Maybe Chihiro grabbed it and tried to protect his father, but since they seen Chihiro not use any sorcery with it, maybe they thought it was just a normal sword and just swatted him away. Or Kunishige hid it elsewhere and Chihiro just went and grabbed it when he woke up and then they was gone. But I think the first guess seems a little bit more likely to me. But yeah, I'll probably check out each chapter as it drops, so make sure y'all subscribe and turn on the bell. Also hit this video with the like and comment down below how you guys feel about Kagura Bachi so far.